Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. And when I say I have a pretty good show, I mean the word pretty. It is Jennifer and Candy, Steve, and I. We're just happy to be with these two chicks. What an awesome
I'm not pretty. I'm handsome. What are you talking about?
And I've been called a lot of things, so don't worry. You're handsome, and I'm whatever. Draw your conclusion, but I do have a new hat, by the way. Really? Seriously? Really? I'm wearing it. New wardrobe. I love it. 3 different colors. Motor City Mad Mouth on the back of it. Great stuff. Introducing wardrobe. Fashion. What do I know about that? All I know is it sounds good. Did I get that off my system? Yeah. For all you people out there on here. Great stuff. No, I'm not going
to. And you got it for now.
Exactly. All right. Let's talk about what we have lined up for the show. Talk about the Canes Pro Day. We're going to talk about New Orleans Saints bringing in another target for Mr. Derek Carr. Josh Sweat definitely will be sweating a lot out there in Minnesota, don't I know? I used to live there. We have Milton Williams. We're going to talk about Russell Wilson and Stephon Diggs. That said, let's get to the topics. Jennifer, we have her till at least 8:45. We're going to make the most out of Jen, who, by the way, is one of the 4 individuals involved with 3 Chicks in a Pod, or Chicks and Sauce. We got Jennifer, Candy, I believe. We have Carrie Johnson. Also have Megan Price, who will be joining me tomorrow night on the Motor City Mad Mouth Show at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. We're talking hoops. Great show. I'm looking forward to having Megan on at long last. I expect this to be a really great show. What's that, Jen?
You're going to love having her on. She knows her basketball.
The queen of looking forward to it.
Yeah, she's
so I have plans for Megan. If she's my hoop expert, which I know she'll be, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope you can join us tomorrow night. But if there's any doubt who the Tennessee Titans should take, it should be settled now. Candy's going to run a video of Cam Ward, who's looking forward to the draft in Green Bay, but he did a private workout today for the Titans, and also she's going to run a video of another kicker whose name you could be seeing in the NFL. Roll the tape.
Okay, let me go. We're going to do kicker first.
I don't care.
Exactly, but somewhat what to expect.
So tell me, how different was it to be kicking in on this stage here with the Pro Scouts compared to what it was like kicking in that game?
I treat every kick like this. In my mind, this was just like me as a team. Obviously, stakes are a little higher. But at the end of the day, I treat every kick like a game like a game.
What is the draft day going to look?
That's Andy Borregales. He's made a lot of good kicks. Any team looking for a kicker, Andy Borregales is your guy. Real clutch kicker for the Canes. Anybody want to add to that real quickly?
I will say John Love of Virginia Tech is amazing and already has kicks longer than most NFL kickers.
Okay.
And that's not me being a homer because I'm not really even a Vodtech fan. Sorry, Hokies. I'm not opposed to y'all. I'm just not there.
It's okay. Well, Andy Borregales is a guy I've been watching the last couple of years. The guy's pretty good, and he'll definitely be a good pick, obviously. Don't expect him to be a top pick, but he could be middle of the draft or maybe an undrafted free agent. What do you think, Steve?
Listen, having kickers is definitely one of those things that if you're not doing it, you're gonna see turnover. You won't be surprised to see when a lot of the kickers tend to go undrafted, that they'll be brought back in as soon as the draft's over for workouts and things like that. Listen, there's only 32 jobs in the NFL right now, and listen, with the amount of kicks that were missed over last year, hell, we were trying to run Jake Elliott out of town halfway through the season last year, and he's still one of these guys who is clutch when it matters. So listen, the revolving door kickers is more vicious than most of the positions in the NFL, just because it's a pressure position. 1 minute you have guys that stick around and are just named for a while, like Adam Vinatieri was one of the guys for the longest time. Now it's like take out Justin Tucker and the aforementioned Jake Elliott. Can you name more than 10 kickers in the NFL right now?
Jake Bates,
That's what I'm
Brandon.
saying. Like we
Well, maybe you can, but I can remember a lot of them in my day. Then again, I'm the oldest person on this panel, so what do you expect?
But that's what I'm saying. Like we can remember those names now. It's like it's weird that like we're in a situation now. Like I honestly can't even name 10 kickers to you off the top of my head right now.
Well, that's okay. I mean, let's face it.
The
Cake
dumb-
cases don't grow on trees. Remember this. Okay, the
They
guy
don't.
came to the United Football League, and all he did was kick as many field goals as that Gus from the movie Gus, the Kicking Mule. So I remember that was one of the favorite movies I've ever watched. It's hard to keep my attention with a movie because that really is. But that was one of the few that actually did, Candy. So the reality of the situation is Andy Morgalis is a guy to watch for at some point in the draft. Any thoughts about Andy? Candy, you watch him as well.
He was a very clutch kicker. He would, when the pressure's on, and let's face it, that's what a kicker has. A kicker has one shot, and he's got to go out and perform. And coaches these days, should I go for it? Do I go for it, or do I kick it? And let's face it, there have been times when Dan Campbell, Matt LaFleur, I know, have said, you know what, I don't trust my kicker. We're going to keep going for it. And either you got it or you didn't. And so I find this very interesting. It's not as easy as it looks, especially under pressure. But Andy, I think, will do well. And I think any team would be lucky to have him.
So let's go to the second half of Pro Day. We're going to.
Jen, did you have a comment or no?
No, I just scratched my nose, like between my lip and my nose. But
Okay.
thanks, Andy.
Yeah, well, she mentioned John Love, so the kicker of Virginia Tech, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. She knows her kickers, especially when they're on the East Coast. Okay, let's go to Mr. Ward.
Okay, let's go, Mr. Ward.
So, as long as I be a good person in the locker room as well, I just think it'll work out in the long run.
Cam, when you do get drafted, what are the thoughts that it's going to happen in Green Bay, the home of the Packers in Titletown, and the history of pro football being a bucket list place to go? I mean, all the history is just unbelievable. Now you're going to have an opportunity to be on that big stage in that particular area.
Yeah, that's where you want to get drafted. That's football heaven over there, and nothing is with football. That's all I want the world to know me as a football player. I wake up every day, try to get the same mindset and work at it. But the draft in Green Bay, ain't nothing like it, just because there ain't nothing to do there but football. So that's where you want to be. What are you most proud of?
There you have it. Being drafted in Green Bay. What a beautiful thing, right, Candy?
It's going to be a very interesting draft. And let me tell you this, from going to the Super Bowl and us talking to the people that were there from Wisconsin that were talking about the draft, they're not expecting, and they don't want numbers like Detroit. That's not what their success is going to be. Their success is making the draft what Green Bay is about, and making it look hometown and giving everybody the experience of Lambeau Field, Green Bay. I think it's cool. I'm glad Cam's going to be there. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be there to see it this time, but I will definitely be here watching it and know that where they're going, Lambeau Field is iconic. If you've never been, it should be a bucket list item for any football fan to go to. They also have Titletown now, which is around, let's face it, all these stadiums are now, they're having entertainment districts or fun things around them to make it more of a destination that it's not just a game day type venue. So good for Cam. Yes, there are other things to do in Green Bay, but let's face it, the Packers are beloved. They are fans for football. And yes, that's the one thing definitely this time of year that what's on their mind is football. And the draft, they're excited to host the draft there this year.
Yeah, and here's the biggest irony about our only trip to Lambeau Field together. Everybody, I'm not delirious. There's perception and there's reality. Candy went out there and went on the field as a member of the Detroit Monitor as part of the Detroit Lions media against their hometown Green Bay Packers. So Detroit wait a minute. I'm the one who pulled a few strings to get you in there in the first place. So you have to admit, even though you're a Packers person inside, Detroit got you on the field. You took your great picture. All right, go ahead.
That may be that Detroit got me in through their media center. That does not mean I have any other allegiances, or let's face it, as a member of the media, you are not a fan at that point. Let me just clarify that, because you know that.
And you're
Nobody said you're a fan. All I said, you were a member of the Detroit media representing the Detroit Lions. Whether you like it or not, there's perception and there's reality. We know that, but you have to own it. For those 2 or 3 hours, you had Detroit connections and not Green Bay connections. That's all I'm saying. We know about you and your poker face. I get that.
Draft this year?
What's that, Jen?
I said, do we want to revisit going to the NFL draft this year?
I know, but ironically, her last NFL draft was where? In Detroit. So she ended up hitting the Triple Crown. She goes to Detroit last April, then she goes to the Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden she went to Miami Hurricanes. Candy's Triple Crown. So anything else you want to add, Jen?
Oh, I think it'll be a great experience. I will say, shockingly, I know everybody says he's going to the Titans. I'd almost rather see him with the Cowboys. Parrish the thought me saying something about the Cowboys, but it's just like a hunch, like for him to even sit behind Dak, because Dak's a good QB, and I don't want to see another awesome, solid rookie coming in and their career is getting smashed before they get started because the coaches and the front office get too excited and go ahead and plug them in before they're ready.
Hi, J.I. Missed you.
Hey, J.I., guess what? Hats came in. Candy will be getting out in the mail within a few days. Really, seriously, really. Yeah. Don't worry about it. This one's on the house, Jay. All right, go ahead, Steve.
NFL draft is always a special day. I remember when it was here in Philadelphia, I made sure I made it to all the days they were available. It's more of the NFL brings an experience on top of what the town brings to it. So it's definitely something that the league has done a lot better of since they decided to move away from let's continue to just keep it in New York for the longest time, and just they were letting the New York people be stingy with it and not letting the other cities get involved. I'm glad that we're sitting there, we're seeing it in multiple different towns, multiple different places. I wouldn't be surprised at some point in time you see them do what I was just saying, having day one of the draft in Green Bay, day two in the draft in Chicago. I wouldn't be surprised if you see that them try to get more out of it as it moves along. But Green Bay is definitely good. It's iconic. There's just nothing you could do say about it. They were the first. They were the first big real franchise when it comes to what the NFL was, when it was, at its youngest, growing together, things of that nature. After the AFL NFL merger, they were the first, the first dynasty, so to speak. So, that's why they have the moniker title town. Outside of cheese and football, what can you talk about Green Bay though? It's football. It's always going to be football. Cam, I'm going to go against Jen here. There's no way Dallas is taking him. Not a chance in hell. You would actually have to have Jerry Jones get out of his own way and let the team be what it is. It's something I talk about all the time. When we talk about the Dallas Cowboys right now, it's sad where we're at now. We're talking more what happened the last 30 years, and I think Jerry's going to be more remembered for that right now than he's going to be remembered for the team in the 90s that was the dominant powerhouse that it was. I think that's where we are if you're looking at Dallas as a whole right now. But the fact that Tennessee's bringing him in for an additional workout, things of that nature, and you're not hearing anything otherwise, I think that pretty much almost guarantees that he's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick, and he is probably going to be a Tennessee Titan. I still think the funny thing is everyone's still out on Shedeur Sanders because he's too cocky. Like, we're talking about Deion Sanders' kid. How is that even a possible thing? And when has being a cocky quarterback ever been a bad thing? Cocky and confidence is what makes a quarterback the guy that he is. But that's just my take on that. But we'll see how everything kind of shakes out over the next month with that.
Great points. I want to go to the chat room real quick. I know I want to get Jen on for the key topics here, and she has something she wants to mention as well. So I'll make sure we get that in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jay. Really, seriously, really on the house. The dream is real. You're real because you're a real good guy. All right, we're gonna jump on over to the Giants. Made another QB move where they can wait to take QB later in the draft. I disagree with that. I still think they're going Shedeur Sanders with the 3rd pick overall. And that move that he's referring to is Russell Wilson signs with the New York Jets.
Travis Hunter ends up now. The fact that they signed Jameis Winston and they just signed Russell Wilson, I guarantee that's where Travis Hunter winds up now.
Do you really? Okay, well, it's interesting.
This is my take on it. We'll see how it happens.
Well, that's okay. I'm glad you brought it up. So the move actually was Russell Wilson signed a 1-year deal with the Giants 1 year, and that's worth $21 million up front. They're going to get $10.5 million guaranteed. Great point. You think Travis Hunter? Give me your explanation why you think that Travis Hunter is going to get taken instead of Shedeur Sanders.
They need star power first and foremost. And the fact that you have a guy that can play either side of the ball, I think when it comes down to it, he'll probably wind up doing what a Deion Sanders did is taking snaps at both and taking reps in training camp as both. But I think it's going to be based on whatever team takes him, regardless if we're talking the New York Giants or somebody else, is what the overall need is going to be. Is it wide receiver? Is it cornerback? I think it would be harder for him to kind of get on the field as a corner, and they need explosion on that offense. And you already got Neighbors there. You team him up with Neighbors on top of what they already have there. I think that'll make for an interesting dynamic to try to have the Giants bridge the gap between the bottom of the NFC East, which they are clearly at now, to try to push into that's 3rd or 2nd team in there. I think that they've gone through a lot, and that's probably what they're going to do, especially with getting their own face smeared and things, but also the other side of it that then they just re-signed Slayton for about as big as a contract that they just signed, that the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley to. So it really is going to vary where he's going to be playing position wise. But I just think that they need star power. They need people with to get the eyes back on the Giants, and not for the wrong reasons.
All right, Jennifer, what do you think?
Ooh, I'm sorry, I lost my internet connection for a second, so I just jumped back on. What was the question?
Sorry, what are your thoughts about Russell Wilson going to the New York Giants, Jen?
Oh, the Jets and Russell and Aaron to the Giants.
The Giants, yeah, right. That's interesting. Yeah, so Wilson is headed to the Giants.
So good for him. Whatever quarterback the Giants do draft, will get to sit behind one of the greats. Russell Wilson. I have a really unusual opinion here. So granted, Steve Wilkes, DC, right? But he's also kind of a quarterback whisperer. He's turned around multiple quarterbacks' livelihoods and trajectories. And if you don't know, then you don't know, and that's fine. It's just something I picked up on because I'm a huge Steve Wilkes fan, and it's based out of my homerism. Not gonna lie. I have always felt Pete Carroll was the only coach for Russell Wilson, and Russell stopped listening to him. And when Russell stopped listening to Pete, we saw his numbers go down. And we saw his ego get bigger and bigger and bigger. And get out his own offices in his own locker room. And a bunch of baloney. Russell is Russell. He'll do Russell things. He'll win a few games for him. He'll throw a couple of pretty passes. But if he doesn't shut up and listen up, and doesn't fall in line, then we are where we are.
Mhm.
Aaron Rodgers, he'll be a good coach for somebody. He'll be great for whomever the Giants do draft because they need to draft a quarterback. The Daniel Jones experiment obviously did not last long or work out well, but that's why you don't pay a Duke quarterback $48 million a year. So, I mean, Duke's a basketball school, bottom line. So,
Hey,
I don't
thanks,
know.
thanks for,
Honestly, those are two things that are so overinflated to me. I'm like, look at their numbers. They are who they are, but they're not who they were. But yet they're still in the league.
hey, Candy, we did forget to send Bo the link. Sorry about that, Bo, but we'll send him the show anyways as well. So good to think about it. My mind was racing a lot. So go ahead, Jen. Candy, give me your take on Russell.
My take on Russell, I go back with Russell way back to his days at Wisconsin, and he really revived Wisconsin's quarterback. And I think, I'm going to say this, um, he did good. He did good in Seattle. He did okay in Denver. Now he went to. I mean, he's one of these that are traveling around. Um, he's not an elite quarterback, but he's a quarterback that gets things done. Like he's not the best, but he's one of those middle of the pack that will get you some wins. It also depends on who you surround him with. Do you have an offensive line? Do you not? Do you have weapons? Do you not? He's not going to make. He's not an elite quarterback, so he's not going to make everybody else looks that much better. He just isn't. That's not who he is.
Going line there.
He is Carson Wentz at this point.
I like that. That's good, Bo. Thanks, bro.
That's good.
NC State also.
Yeah, that is good. Great comment, Bo. And by the way, Bo, last week we didn't get the Carson Wentz thing on, but boy, I'll tell you, we put it on YouTube and it's gotten a lot of interest. So we made it work. All right, Jen, I know you only have a few minutes. Let me go ahead and let you mention that you're interested in, and then Candy and I and Steve will proceed accordingly.
Okay, so one of the first women that Three Chicks in a Pod, and this was pre-Candy, talked about was Susan Tucci Spencer. And Chris, you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I think.
I am, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So Susan was the first female general manager, female legal counsel, and the first female vice president, and I believe president of any NFL team for the Philadelphia Eagles. Her dad was the owner. So there's a little nepotism there, but even then, back those days, and I'm sorry, I've been to Philly more than once, so I don't really think he would have put her in that position if he didn't know she would succeed. But her daughter Marnie was one of our first guests on our show, and Marnie had done a lot of work with dementia here on the western side of North Carolina, and has actually won several awards for her work with that. Well, Susan passed away today. And Marnie wrote a beautiful tribute on her Facebook page. It's probably on her LinkedIn page. I'm going to try to pull it up without leaving. So hold on one second. But we were sharing this, talking about this earlier as well. But Susan really made the way for women in sports. And she never even thought about it. So this is what Marnie wrote today. As I sit on the sofa where my mom and I watched almost every sunrise together since she moved in with me in 2020, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. The best part of my day was always sitting beside her, writing in my gratitude journal, and starting the morning in the most beautiful way. Sure, the pain of missing her, my mom, my best friend, my confidant, my advocate, my advisor, my cheerleader, my teacher, my partner is immense. There's a space beside me that can never be filled. But how lucky am I? I won the mom lottery. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cry, but I am. Because it reminds me of my mom. I was blessed beyond measure, and one of the greatest gifts my mom gave me was teaching me how to share. something only children are off.
Great stuff, Jen.
Uh-oh, so we
I
lost
think she
Jen.
froze. I think she had bad connection again. There she goes.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that-
There you go.
Sorry. Anyway, it's a beautiful tribute. Look on Marnie Schneider's Facebook page or on her LinkedIn page. I'm sure it's on there as well. But her mom did everything with such grace, dignity, and gratitude. And she was a true trailblazer, and where she understood the strength of what she was doing. I don't know that she knew the impact.
Well, condolences, Jen. I'm glad we had an opportunity for you to put it on there. I know that meant a lot to you.
That was an ugly cry. Sorry.
That's not-
All
Hey,
good.
if I was there, I'd give you a big Motor City Mad Mouth hug, but just visualize it and all that stuff.
Back in
I'm
2022.
Before you get going, though, I do want you to let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. And Steven's going to follow you on Twitter.
Yeah,
and
just
all of that.
shoot me your ex information, my friend.
Oh, of course I will. Thank you. I appreciate it, Chris. So you can find me on X at Jenna Cheryl, the professional fan. The same with Blue Sky. Also on Instagram and Facebook, it's Jen Lewis. And then on Reddit, it's Jenna Cheryl, the professional fan. Jenna Cheryl on Reddit. So I cause trouble everywhere. People don't believe some of the stories I tell, but they're all true, I swear.
That's what makes you fun.
Plus Scott Wood, Jackie Chan me, so you know.
And Jen, you can plug our YouTube. Come on, let's go.
Oh, the Chicks Podcast. Sorry. And then you can find us on Tuesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, X, where else?
Those are it.
Yes,
Instagram, you on there too?
uploading our all of our audio to all of the streaming sites. So you can find us on Amazon Podcast. You can find us on iHeart, Spotify. What else? All of them, I believe.
Mhm.
Castbox.
Yep.
So check us out.
And
Yeah,
Jen,
actually,
and
cool. We know what we're talking about.
yeah, Jen comes on here on Inside to fix in when we need her, and we love having her every opportunity we get her. So it's great stuff. Glad we got around to a couple topics and an incredible, beautiful tribute that you just went out there and put out there, Jen. God bless you. Know, well, we love you very much. You're a part of our family. That is what it is. So
Love you too, Scott. I love you, Candy. Chris,
Love you too.
I'll fall in love with you soon.
Steve, but we'll get it. We'll get it going.
Bye, guys.
All right. Good
All right,
night.
thanks, Jen.
So now there are three, unless Pensman's out here and he wants to join us. He knows how to get in here. Get in here, Pensman, if you want to. No problem. Meanwhile, we'll continue on to our next topic anyways. And that being that's we're going to go to Philadelphia, where, as I mentioned, Josh Sweat, who is an edge rusher, is going to the Arizona Cardinals, setting a 4-year contract worth $76.4 million. What are your thoughts about Josh Sweat going to the dry area where he probably won't sweat as much? I love Arizona because of the dry heat, but Josh Sweat does reunite with his old defensive coordinator. Give me some more information, Steven.
First and foremost, couldn't be happier for Josh. For people who don't know, he actually restructured his contract and came back for less money because he was about to be cut last season to make cap room. They made it work out, and as you can see, obviously it paid off. It paid off dividends for him. I think people are also discrediting the fact that he probably played as well he did in the postseason by playing next to a guy named Jalen Carter. When you're demanding double teams on the inside like that, it really frees up your edges to be able to just go hunt. And that was more or less the Eagles' motto this postseason. Let's go hunt. And obviously looking what Josh did in the Super Bowl. People also who may not pay attention on the regular, he and I believe Milton Williams also changed their managers right before the Super Bowl run. So the fact that we got that out of the way, obviously Josh is a guy who earns his keep. Sweaty J does his thing all the time, and what I'll say is this, man, he's got a show out now. He's got his contract. He's out there in Arizona. I mean, yes, he does have familiarity with there because the Cardinals coach was our defensive coordinator a few years ago, but he's got to do it on his own now. He doesn't have that defensive line to bring over there with him. So we'll see how he eventually plays out there. I think I think for him as a career move, Arizona might be the dry death of him, so to speak. But I love him as a player. He doesn't quit. He's another one of these mid-round guys that was drafted here, and just continue to grind and play at a high level. And I fully expect him to continue to do that in Arizona, but I don't think he's going to quite have the production numbers that he had here. We'll see how it all plays out.
Okay, let's go to any further comment. We'll let Penman chime in on this. Josh bet on himself and won. Yeah, with the checkbook, he certainly did. No debating that for sure.
Yeah, he did. He definitely bet on himself and won.
Yeah, he deserves to get paid. He did, and he did it, and he got a Super Bowl ring. Goes to Arizona. Not a bad place if you decide to finish your career. You're looking for warm weather and got a little bit of money to do that. And you rest assured the state income tax is probably less in Arizona than it is up in the East Coast. All right, depends on what your thoughts about Josh sweating his way all the way to the Southwest.
I give him credit. He wanted to do it. There was 3, now there's 4. So I'm glad to be on the show late, but better late than never. So I'm glad that Josh went out west. So, and Steven, nice to meet you. By the way, it's the first time that actually we collaborate. So
that's good. We're trying to bring people in and out of here. We have Jennifer. I plan to bring you on a little bit later. Try to break it up a little, get a lot of different voices, and now you get to meet Steven, who's on here every single week, putting up with me anyhow. Penman has to put up with me on Wednesday, and he goes to the country club on Thursday night. Penman's he's a guy you really got to get to know anyways. This guy's a character he's a character definitely on Twitter, and he's good people. I've known this guy, Steven, for a couple of years. He's all good. So don't worry. Like I said, I'm trying to keep the screen even in quarters, Penman. That's why you're in here. Jen started, you're going to finish. Fair enough. All right, Candy, some thoughts on that move.
So Sweat cashed out on the open market. After following an impressive 2024 campaign with the Eagles, he capped it by 2.5 sacks performance during the team's Super Bowl win. He's now totaled 6 or more sacks in 5 consecutive seasons and will provide a much-needed boost to Arizona's defensive front. The 8 sacks that Sweat notched during the 2024 regular season would have led the Cardinals' defense. Xavier Collins finished number 1 with just 5 sacks. So he's already going to move to the top of the food chain over there. Whether he has the same performance remains to be seen, but you're playing in a different conference, different coaches, different supporting staff. But good for him to go out there and get, a new contract, new team, and a sweet new deal.
Well, that division's there for the taking. Think about it. I don't know how good San Francisco could be. The Rams could be pretty good. And Seattle, I'm not sure what they have there. Arizona, if Tyler Murray plays pretty well, it could be all right out in Arizona.
Seattle's probably going to build up from the draft.
Yeah, I think so too. I really think you're right, Penman, that they could. So that division is more wide open.
The free agents are pretty much done.
Pretty much. There might be a few here and there. We're going to get to a few more later in the show, or at least one more that we're going to get to, Penman. You're in time for a couple of these other ones. So with all due respect, not a bad thing you can do. You get a ring and then you get paid. All right, Candy, station break time.
You were listening to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family. South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth, really seriously, really Morganroth. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a link to our merchandise store as well as a plethora of great content. Again, on our YouTube channel, if you look at South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, we're putting up all kinds of new content. We're putting up stuff If you were listening earlier in the show, we had a little clip of Cam Ward. Well, there's more of Cam Ward's interview with the media from Pro Day yesterday up on there. So go check it out. There was a comment about Carson Wentz. There's an interview from Carson Wentz on our YouTube channel. So go check that out as well. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And if you want to sponsor a show or advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. Okay, Scott.
Excuse me, Kenny. Why don't you put that comment up there about Xavier Restrepo? I'll be the sole one that comments on that. I have some thoughts on that. So go ahead. If you can dig it up here. I'm trying to find it myself. All right, it's from Eddie Prather. Let me put that up there. I'll just do it. Did Xavier Restrepo have a good pro day? Number one, Dallas needs another wide receiver. You never know. He could end up going down there. I think what they say is times was like 4.83 or whatever, a little bit slow on the 40-yard dash side. So he's available if Dallas wants him. I personally would love to see Xavier land with the Titans and be reunited with Cam Ward. They made an incredible combination. But I had an opportunity to interview Xavier Restrepo last year when he was watching the pro day. And tell you, when you see him, he's definitely built up in the weight room, and he looks in much better shape. And he's the all-time receiver in Miami Hurricanes history. When you look at the receivers that they've had through the years, like Michael Irvin, just to name a few of them. Michael Irvin, I'm trying to think. There's a million of them that have come out of there. Candy will probably research it. Great career. It could be a find in the draft. So maybe if you judge by the 40-yard dash times, people will say no, but this guy can catch the ball, and he's a possession receiver is what he is. Somebody's going to find themselves a good pick in Xavier Restrepo. That's for sure. So Candy will come up with a couple more names, and we'll proceed going forward. I have Michael Irvin.
Oh, I'm trying
to remember.
Santana Moss, Reggie Wayne. Let's see who else was on there. There's Michael Irvin, Lamar Thomas, Stacy Cole, Andre Johnson.
Andre Johnson's a great one for the Texans, so in the Hall of Fame actually.
Those are the big ones. Reggie Wayne, Santana Moss, Michael Irvin. So that's some big company right there.
It really is. So I just want to make.
I'm going to comment a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
I think Xavier was a little disappointed in his results, in some of the skills like the 40-yard dash and some of the other things. But I think when Cam was throwing, there were a lot of times that the two of them, he was receiving, and he had some really good catches that really showed off some of his talent. I also know that the last play of Pro Day, what was it? It was a pass from Xavier to Cam Ward, going the opposite way. Instead of Cam throwing to Xavier, Xavier threw it to Cam. So they were having a little fun. But I think he was disappointed in his times. But I think overall, if you watched the films and if the scouts were watching the whole body of work, he did well. So that would be my 2 cents.
All right, so let's continue the Philadelphia theme. Milton Williams, defensive lineman, goes from the Eagles to the Patriots, worth $104 million. What are your thoughts about that one, Steven?
Another one cashed in the Super Bowl, cashed in the bag. Again, another one of these guys who switched management mid playoff run. Going to a place like New England, he's got some lineage there with what they've done over the past 20 years or so. But it's a whole new regime. It's a whole new offense, whole new defense, etc. You're going to have to see how everything winds up playing out for him. And it's not. I'm not taking anything away from him. But again, as I was just saying with Josh Sweat, when you're playing behind guys like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, you're gonna get good percentage numbers. It's just gonna happen. The thing I guess you're gonna have to see is if Milton Williams can play that 30-40 snaps a game. That you haven't really seen him be the one or two defensive tackle. You've seen him be, the third defensive tackle. Will pretty much, for the last 3 years that's been Milton Williams' spot. So we'll see about if that transfers over. I still think he's one of the better guys out there. I think both Amaro Mojo and Milton Williams were nipping on Chris Jones's pressure percentage per snap thing. That one of the things that they track now. That he's up there, so I think that he's going to be productive there. We just have to see if it's something he can do. If he can be that number one defensive tackle, if he can, be a 3-down defensive tackle. It's very rare that you see defensive tackles staying on the field that long. So we'll see. I'm not sitting there saying he can't. Listen, every time he was on the field, it was he was making havoc. So we'll see what it is up there in New England, but happy for him as he gets that he got paid. We'll see. He's got that $100 million contract if he's actually worth it.
All right, let's go back to the chat room. Jay makes an incredible point. Cup was at 4.62 2017. Just thought I'd mention that since he recently signed, actually with the Seattle Seahawks going back to his home state. Say what you want about the 40-yard dash. I understand it's good to have better times, but I don't think that's the means to all ends. As long as you got good hands, you can catch the football, and they can put you in the slot in order to go out there and hide your speed. As long as you can go ahead and catch the football with as few drops as possible. So I'm not making a big deal over the 40. But yeah, that's a good point about Cooper Kupp. I'm going to leave the Milton Williams with a standalone topic for Steven. And the reason why I'm going to do that, because that's his neck of the woods, and I want to make sure that he has sole comment on that. Sometimes I like to do this with Steven, because that when you're in a certain neck of the woods, he knows this a lot better, and then I can move on and keep the show going and leave it more open for more dialogue in the chat room. That said, the New Orleans Saints are signing veteran wide receiver Brandin Cooks, who will sign a 2-year contract worth approximately $13 million. NFL insider Josina Anderson reports he's going to help out Derek Carr and Kellen Moore, the new coach. So, all right, Candy, what are your thoughts about the brand man, Brandin Cooks, signing there? And also a special shout out to my nephew, Brandon Morganroth, who has a birthday today. Happy birthday, Brandon. Whether you're listening to the show or not, but I certainly put them on the Brandon theme. I will mention you as well. But Brandin Cooks, Candy, to the New Orleans Saints, a nice little reunion.
He did well there before. This is what I said earlier tonight, Scott, when we were talking pre-production. It's going to be very interesting to see some of these teams with all the movement they've had with the different quarterbacks, the different wide receivers, which ones gel, which teams play as teams, because let's face it, some don't work out very well and some do. He's going to add speed and experience to the core, which is led by Chris Olave and also includes Rashid Shaheed. In 10 regular season games with the Cowboys, he recorded 26 catches for 256 yards and 3 touchdowns on 54 targets. Let's hope hoping he bounces back, because that's not, I don't think, real indicative of who and what he can do. So it'll be interesting to see how this year plays out for him.
Okay, Ted, what are your thoughts about the brand man landing back in the Big Easy?
Well, he did decent in the Cowboys with Dak Prescott. Now we'll just see how he does with back to New Orleans. He did well, like Candy said, back when he was back there. He put up numbers. He made the Pro Bowl, which Pro Bowl doesn't mean anything, but it does something to your resume. We'll see how they do in that. So we'll see what happens with his numbers, see if he gets a lot of touches and see what's going on. I just like to know what Kellen Moore is doing with that offense. See if, don't take this offensive, Steven, but we'll see if he gets the offense the way that he ran with the Eagles, see what happens there with the Saints.
No offense taken whatsoever. I mean, I still think Kellen Moore was just, he was a cog into the overall scheme of what Philly was doing. You know,
Right.
he already had great pieces around him to kind of work with. I still felt a lot of times, I think a lot of defensive coordinators and things of that nature kind of already felt that they were predictable in their scheme. So it's going to be, again, like what you were saying, I think it's going to be interesting to see how Brandon plays out. You know, he was stuck in hell last year in Dallas, and you know, you want to, you know, I know everyone wants to talk of Dak Prescott. Like, dude, he's done nothing when it matters. You know, Dak is the ultimate regular season killer, and he turns into a puppy as soon as playoff time comes around. So
Yup,
I
yup.
mean, I can't. I don't think that Brandon Cooks is washed. I don't think that, you know, he's a perennial 2 or 3 receiver at this point in time. I will see what happens, how everything plays out with New Orleans, but I think that another point that you said, you know, Pro Bowls don't mean anything. All pros mean something. So if Brandon Cooks was an all pro at any point in time in the last 5 years, it'd be something to kind of pique your ears about. But Brandon Cooks has been kind of a secondary target for the better part of the last handful of years. And we'll have to see if he can rekindle that that Saints magic that he had a few years ago when he was there. But I think when it all boils down to it, is that he's going to be a overall part of a scheme. We'll have to see if Mr. Kellen Moore's scheme is any better this year in New Orleans. I can't give you an answer there. You know, we only have Kellen one year here, and he had the advantage of having two of the one of, in my opinion, the best wide receiver duo in the NFL and the best running back in the NFL with the best offensive line. So that's not what he's going to be having in New Orleans. Brandon Cooks can definitely help him, but they still have to have better production and you know, just better offensive all around in New Orleans.
The only thing I'll say about this whole thing is I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles league PR guy, he didn't call on me because he had a problem. Now that I know what I think about it, ignoring me because I talked about his 2 assistant coaches being valuable with Big Fangio, who did stay there, and Kellen Moore getting a job. So sometimes the PR guys don't like what you say. That they have the one tool that if you raise your hand, they're going to ignore you. I don't care. I was just doing my job. Nevertheless, he did win and he did leave. So if he holds a grudge against me, Kellen Moore was laughing all the way to the bank, anyways, and I don't care. Answer Eddie Prater. Dak Prescott doesn't beat good teams. That's true. Cooks went to Oregon State. Go Beavers. And Huntley, Ravens' old backup QB, made a Pro Bowl. That shows
that one.
what the Pro Bowl means. It doesn't mean anything. I'll tell you why. It doesn't mean anything. My longtime friend and colleague, Jerry Green, says, when I saw him here at the Miami Super Bowl, said, I go to that thing. I don't like it. I only went there for 1 year just to say I've been to an All-Star game at the NFL. That was it. But Jerry Green, rest in peace, is the guy who covered all the Super Bowls until he passed away recently. Rest in peace, Jerry Green. Everybody comment on Brandon, making sure everybody got in. Final topic of the night, Stephon Diggs, 3 years, $69 million, $26 million guaranteed with New England. All right, we're going to start off with you, Candy, on Stephon.
So it'll be interesting to see how he rebounds. Let's face it, he only played 8 games last year in Houston before suffering a season-ending ACL tear. He hauled in 47 receptions for 496 yards and 3 scores in his lone campaign with Houston. He is on track, they say, to complete injury rehab and suit up for week 1. He's 31 years old. He recorded 6 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons before his injury, including a league best 1,535 yards in 2020. Now, will he be able to have that kind of success with the Patriots? I don't think so.
Steven said no.
You know, no, Jay, I do not hate Diggs. I just don't see him having the success that he had in the past. It remains to be seen. Like I said earlier, this is going to be, I think we've seen more free agency moves and more quarterback and wide receiver and individual players move than I remember in the past. So a lot of these teams are getting a new look whether it be new coaches, new quarterbacks, new whatever. I think it'll be interesting to see how some of these play out this year, whether they have the years that they've had in the past. I'm not so sure Stefan will.
Fair enough. All right, Ken, what do you think?
Well, I'm going back to where is he? I can't find it.
Well,
Anyway,
give us,
there was a
give
comment.
us an
saying
idea of who you think you were looking for. And
no. I was looking for a comment, but no.
Okay.
The New England is spending money is very true. Jay said it, but I can't find it on there. But Jay, there it is. That New England is spending money. They're getting that defense player like you guys talked about, Stephon Diggs. They spend money on him. Will he be like the Buffalo Bills? I don't know. But Odell Beckham Jr. had the same injury back at the Super Bowl. He came back and he has not produced the same numbers as he did before he tore his ACL. So will it be Odell Beckham Jr. Part 2? Time will tell. As long they just need him to get the first down and keep the ball moving. That's what the Patriots are paying him to do. They're not paying him to be the 2020 Stephon Diggs that they wanted to be. So I thought he was going to be with his brother down in Dallas, but obviously that didn't happen. So that's my take.
Well, I like your point about mentioning Odell Beckham Jr. That's a good one, Pimpin. Good stuff. All right, so I'll let Steven go ahead and either
I'll
add
just
to
say
that
this,
or come up with something on his own.
Stephon Diggs is, 31, 32 years old, coming off an injury. This is when a good percentage of your professional athletes, especially football players, start to break down and kind of fall off that cliff. So, I mean, you do have your rare occasions where guys do come back, guys do have some remnants of what they used to be. But as he was just saying, they don't need Stephon Diggs to be, an all world wide receiver. They just need some stability there, somebody they can count on, somebody who's got good hands. If he can do that, then I think that it won't be a bad investment. But if they're going into this thinking that, we got Stephon Diggs from 3 years ago, that's not in the cards. That's really not in the cards. And yes, New England has spent a lot of money in getting in there and making a difference for the free agents that New England are bringing in. They have to make a big difference now. That I don't think Robert Kraft is going to deal with another sub 7 win year. He's not going to deal with that. So yeah, I think they are going technically all in, but it's technically into a rebuild. You're bringing in guys that they feel that are going to help them. We'll see if it's something that'll produce on the field, or if it's just having, or even if it's not even a playoff run potentially, but it's just a step forward in the right direction where you're not picking in the top 5. That I think that's what Robert Kraft is really looking at from this team. Obviously, it's another kind of rebuild year, but going in, bringing in a Milton Williams, going to bringing in Stephon Diggs, you're letting your quarterback know that, like, hey, we are investing into this team. We are trying to get better. So we'll see how it is. As Candy said, there's just been a whole lot of changeover. Regardless if we're talking coaches, quarterbacks, it's going to be real interesting to see if all these pieces fit well together.
Vrabel's a good coach too, so he'll
Vrabel was a good coach. I thought it was funny that Vrabel traded away AJ Brown, but they were calling the Eagles up to see if he was available this offseason. Like, what are we doing? And that's why you wound up having to make a signing to go get a Stephon Diggs, because they absolutely knew, like, we needed a wide receiver, and they weren't going to wait to go get one in the draft. Or if they have another idea what they're doing with their draft pick, it didn't want to have to go address a wide receiver with that. So we'll see how it all gels together. I think that they'll, without a doubt, if not for nothing, they will at least be a much better defensive team. With having Mike Bravel there, with bringing in a guy like a Milton Williams. So we'll see what happens there in New England. Again, I like Diggs if you're not if you're not referring to him as wide receiver one, if he's your mentor, if he's your second option, the quarterback security blanket, so to speak.
Great points all the way around. Here's my take on this. First of all, New England had to do something to get Drake May another target. They did. Keep in mind, DK Metcalf turned them down, did not want to go there. Second of all, Jared Mayo had that clause where he had to be named head coach for at least 1 year. And then if he didn't perform, then they had the right to let him go. Bill Belichick left the cupboard bare, and they wrecked Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones actually ended up landing in a good place with San Francisco, where he should have been drafted in the first place, and he'll get to learn under Kyle Shanahan and others talk that maybe Trey Lance could end up in the United Football League. So when you put things in perspective, I think there's no question that New England overpaid for Stephon Diggs, but sometimes when you're a bad team, you have to pay a little bit more money to get somebody. That's what they did. Steven, I'm going to go back to what you said. You're not going to get the same Stephon Diggs of 3 years ago. No way. If you're lucky, you get a guy who probably amasses about 700 yards and maybe 4 or 5 touchdowns, and hope that you're able to land something in the draft. And we talked about it earlier. Maybe Xavier Restrepo might be a good fit for the New England Patriots. Why not? Because this guy is a hidden gem. I hope somebody does pick him up, albeit I'm still hoping the Titans get him to be reunited with Cam Ward. But New England should be looking at him. Don't get rattled about that 40-yard dash total. But as far as Stephon Diggs, why not? I think is it a high risk, high reward move? No. But sometimes you have to pay a little bit more in order to get a guy. But you have to help your quarterback out. You really, really simply do. Any other questions or comments or closing thoughts while we did? I want to thank Jennifer Matthews-Lewis for coming in first part of the show. And, of course, we have Penman on the back half of the show. Sometimes I'll do that when I have guests where they come on and we add somebody else. But the part about Penman is he knows how to get in here. He tends to come here on short notice, and he does an incredible job doing exactly the way to do that. And, of course, Jay, you're right. The best way to help the quarterback out is get him with some offensive line. Keep in mind you have the NFL draft coming up in about 30 days or so. So it'll be more
heavy with offensive line help. It is heavy.
Yeah. Penman is a team player. We've known that. That's one of the reasons why he's a valuable.
Scott, can we throw one more topic in?
Sure, go ahead.
Is there a chance that Tyler Lockett might go to Pittsburgh?
I don't know. Well, I'm going to ask Steven. What do you think, Steve?
Because of DK?
I mean, I was joking on my own show that he was going to wind up being a Jet, right? But I mean, you really have to go and look at like who could benefit the most from having a high ceiling number 2 wide receiver in a guy like Tyler Lockett. I think with the fact that Russ just signed that with the Giants, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go in someplace like there. I mean, where else do you think is going to need help like that? Do you see him potentially filling the role that Stephon Diggs just left in Texas with
Houston Texans?
Yeah, with the Texans, man. It's one of these things like you can sit there and play devil's advocate until it gets down to it. I think that ultimately Lockett signs with a team after the draft, but that's just my initial thoughts on where he is going to be compared to where everything is right now.
Well, let's add another comment to Eddie Prather. Great topic. Great answer. If Lockett signs with the Steelers, I think Pickens gets traded. Possible. We'll see. We'll leave that one out there. There's a lot more transactions to be had, but it's worth putting it up there since Eddie mentioned it in the chat room. I tried to do as many comments as I can, as long as the road tips the show, and I can tell you everybody that's contributed in this chat room has done an absolutely fantastic job. We appreciate everything that has been put.
And I'll say it again: with everything that's left, Aaron Rodgers is going to Minnesota.
You really
I hope so. I do not want him in my stadium at all. And Russell Wilson's son, I'm like, no.
I already said it on this program a few weeks ago. He's going to compete the Favre trifecta. Now
I hope you're right. I hope JJ learns from him or gets traded. If we get JJ instead of Aaron, I'm gonna go lit. It's a
But here's the thing,
it's a
JJ
fat
is
chance,
flat out
but
said, like he's glad that they haven't named him the starter yet. He wants to earn his spot. Let a
Right.
veteran
Right.
like Aaron Rodgers come in and let JJ McCarthy beat him out for the job. Let him beat him out for the job. He spent a year, rehabbing, watching how everything works in the NFL. Who's to sit there and say that he won't beat him for the job? And Minnesota winds up just paying him to freaking sit there and be on the sideline.
and I've watched JJ in college, and I've always wanted him to be drafted by the Steelers. If he gets to the Steelers, I'll be so lit and beat Mason Rudolph off for the Steeler job. Oh, that'd be awesome. I'm just saying, as a fan point of view.
Tell me how
It's
you
gonna happen,
really
probably
feel,
not.
Penguin.
You're
Really?
making fun of
Seriously,
you
really?
were making fun of Carson Wentz. I have a good feeling that's where
I said
people
what's
end up
Savannah
hitting-
last week.
Huh?
I said what's Savannah last week to you. It's
Well,
possible.
I like where Jay's going. Rodgers to Minnesota equals more wins for the Lions. That boy, Jay. Your hat, Candy will put the hat in the mail probably tomorrow or for sure by Thursday.
Went through the trade.
That way, if he ever comes on here as a guest,
But
he has to wear
that
it.
also means that Rodgers still has to beat JJ for that job. I don't think Rodgers is a starting quarterback this year. I think he's either a stopgap or he's holding a clipboard.
I don't know. To be continued. The best part about you, Steven, is you come on every Tuesday night. So
Yes, sir.
it's Scott and Steven and everybody else. Candy's been coming out a lot lately. Then again,
Wait,
when it talks about
what's
the
Dallas
cream of the
trying
crop.
to do?
What's that, Penman?
What's Dallas trying to do to get it back up?
Yeah, we don't know. They lost Cooper Rush lately. I have no clue what they're looking to do. So we'll leave that out there, Penman. We come up with that. You can participate in the chat room unless I pull you in off the streets on short notice. We bring Candy on a lot. I'll tell you what, you talk about a woman with a lot of great football IQ. Candy is it. I've never seen a woman, we can talk 24 hours a day about football. That's why she belongs on this show, and she gets as much airtime as she can get on here, and we'll have a lot more people on. But I know one thing you can expect every Tuesday night, the Scott and Steven Show, etc. etc. Hashtag that one, Steven. Fair enough, my brothers. You and I and anybody else that wants to join the party. All right, with that said, this is time to complete this edition of Inside the Picks. And I want to thank Jennifer Matthews Lewis for coming in early and Penman for closing it out. And Candy smiling. Look at all that smile all the way to Wisconsin. Look at that. Took a picture of that, supposedly. All right, there you go. She knows how to get her. She's never going to put it up there, so nobody will go out there and steal it. So at least she knows it. Well, those are called company secrets. So, Katie, give another station break, and we'll let everybody know how they get home. So, great show tonight. I'm happy to have the 5 people that were willing to participate tonight. We'll have more good ideas next week. Go ahead, Candy. Take over.
So I'm going to do a quick station break, but before I do, I know this is not football related, but you guys all know that I'm Wisconsin through and through. I want to say congratulations to the Wisconsin women's hockey team, national champions again. But I also want to send prayers out to Milwaukee Bucks guard Damian Lillard. He has been diagnosed with a deep vein thrombosis. Basically, he has a blood clot in his right calf, and he is out indefinitely right now. So I know that's not football related, but it is sports related. Very right now. Prayers go out to him. Blood clots are not something you mess with. So with that being said, South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Really, seriously, really, yes, really. He wrote a book. It talks about his 40 plus years in the media business and how it has changed. Old school media versus new school media. There's even a couple of pictures of Scott, young Scott and Tommy Lasorda. I mean, baseball starts this week. Opening day is later this week. He's got a young picture of him and Tommy Lasorda. He's got a picture of him and young Muhammad Ali. Go get the book to find out. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a link to our merchandise store as well as a plethora of great content and some pictures. And yes, J.I., there's some pictures of Aaron Rodgers, but not the Aaron Rodgers picture that you're talking about. But
Exactly.
we like to listen. But Jay, I love having you back. I was just telling Scott I miss you in the chat room, so I'm glad you're out there tonight. I do want to say, if you listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. If you want to be a guest, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com.
Great stuff, Jay. Great stuff. Eddie Prather, and great stuff for everybody else that participated. Bo was able to get in here. Forgot to send him the link, but that's okay. Bo will send you the show. He always does an incredible job being on here. Bo had another conflict, but he's one of the most dependable people that we have on here as well. So we appreciate everybody that comes on. But Bo, I love having him on with Steven for sure. But you know what? What we had tonight was fantastic. I always like bringing in different people. Penman, you did an awesome job tonight. Jennifer, as always, does real well. So with that said, Penman, let everyone know how to get a hold of you.
I'm going to piggyback on Candy, what she said, but I'm going to talk about NCAA tournament real quick. Juju Watkins got hurt last night. She is out for the rest of the tournament, and we'll see what USC does in the going forward, but it looks like UConn's got a free sail to the championship, so we'll see what happens. But I just want to say that Juju is hurt for the rest of the year. But with that, you can find me on Pensman Sports on YouTube, and you can find me on X on Pensman Sports also.
And that bothered me. I was looking forward to seeing her in Tampa for sure, but honestly,
I figured you would.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad you brought it up. All right, go ahead, Steven.
Well, as always, my friends, appreciate you having me on, letting me BS with you, and just talking some football in general. You can find me, every Wednesday morning on the Fan in the End with, myself, former Titans tight end Ben Troop, and my good friend JB, who runs JB Sports, aka Just Blaze Clothing, and look, we got a lot more fun stuff coming. We had, I think I did 4 interviews this weekend with BKFC fighters that were either competing on the fight night card that just happened here in Philadelphia, or that had upcoming fights. I think Justin Street is fighting the 27th there in Hollywood, Florida. So BKFC is the combat sport that everyone's talking about right now. And as we were quick touching on that, we didn't talk on it today, but rest in peace to George Foreman, who was an absolute legend, in the ring, outside of the ring, is an inspiration to us all. I mean, the fact that he left boxing for as long as he did, and almost 20 years to the fact when he lost to Ali, comes back and defeats Michael Moore for a title, just shows to everybody, like, it's never too late to chase your dreams and do your things. I just think that got to give George his love tonight. But as far as anything else, you guys will find me on all forms of social media. Just type in my name. You should find me at both on all 3 major platforms, both Facebook, Instagram, X/Twitter. Just it's Steve Sports Talk 1, and I'm pretty responsive to anyone. So just so if you follow, just know I'll be talking to you. I don't have empty followers on my page. I will delete you faster than an aging star gets cut from the NFL these days. So.
Well, Steve's a big help to us with sharing our stuff, so I really appreciate what Steven's done. And I did find him on Twitter. I talked about committee Grant Larson. I pulled you off of Twitter, and I tell you what, I made out like a bandit pulling you out of here and dragging you out off of Twitter for 1 hour a week. You're doing this stuff with us, so great stuff. I'm proud to have you as my teammate, Steven. Also, the one thing I do want you to do real quickly, if you don't mind, is give everybody a little information about Ben Troop. I'm going to say this right now. Ben Troop will be on Inside the Pigskin real soon. This week was obviously a little bit tough because Candy and I were in spring training on Sunday. Then I had a quick turnaround over at the Miami Hurricanes spring game, so I didn't have to really prepare But Ben Troop's the guy that I'm hoping to get on as often as we can.
Yeah.
You know what, Stephen? Please let everybody know about what we can expect. And if you have any other people that want to come on Inside the Pigskin, don't hesitate to ask them and then let me know when you've done it and get me the phone numbers and we'll bring them in here. I'm going to be injecting a lot of new people on Inside the Pigskin in addition to the holdovers that we have. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Stephen.
Yeah, Ben he's an energetic, fun, like he's got stories, man, and it's great. He always gives a fun aspect to it. Like even though he's a former player, was in the league, 5-6 years, whatever it was, he knows he wasn't the best guy in the world, but he has an interesting perspective on things. He loves the college game more than anything. We haven't even really got a chance to scratch the surface of that, at least on my program. And he actually has, I think, 2 other podcasts that he does. He has another show called No Fall Weddings, and he still has his other program, which is 84 questions. Obviously 84 was his number while he was a Florida Gator. So he does a lot of podcasts and a lot of media. He's really interactive. When you get a hold of him, you literally just type in his name, regardless if it's Facebook, Instagram, X, just Ben Troop or Ben Troop 84 should be the easiest way to find him. And listen, I've already said it, man. He should be one of these guys that are on the the ESPN talk shows or the Fox Sports 1 talk shows. He has that kind of insight, and he's fun to talk to.
Get ready for Ben Troop. He'll be coming on Inside the Pigskin soon enough. I'm looking forward to having him as a regular contributor like yourself, Stephen. Again, you and I, we've talked about this privately. Our goal is to make this the best football show out there, right, Stephen? That Inside the Pigskin is going to be something that you look forward to tuning in every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, and Stephen and I, and etc. So we will be talking soon, and we're going to get Ben on pretty soon. And I have a lot of great, tell Ben when you talk to him, I have a lot of great college topics, and I'm going to hold on to him. We might even bring him on to a UFL show as well, because after all, this guy here talks about colleges and prospects. So Ben's going to be a great addition when we add him pretty soon. So once again, I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Inside the Pigskin. On behalf of Jennifer Matthews Lewis, Candy Ebling, Pens and Sports, and of course my co-host Stephen Reichel, my name is Scott Morgan, the Motor City Madmouse. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. We'll see you next Tuesday night. Have a great week, everybody. God bless. Thanks for joining us. An outstanding job with everybody that participated in the chat room. We thank you immensely. Good night, everybody.